Hello, my friends and colleagues. I am delighted to welcome you all back to the Haircafe cinematic universe. So today, I was all ready to record a video on a completely different subject, but when I checked my email this morning, I found this breaking news study from JAMA, which stands for the Journal of the American Medical Association. As many of you know, I recently did a marathon video on seed oils where I responded to the YouTuber What I've Learned, who made an idiotic video about seed oils where he makes a bunch of bullshit claims and he even promotes debunked pseudoscientific ideas like Lamarckian evolution. I'll go ahead and post my response video to What I've Learned in the description below, and even though it is a very long video, I still highly recommend everyone watch it when they have the time, as it refutes most of the anti-seed oil talking points we hear on social media these days. But it turns out we're not quite done talking about seed oils just yet, Shooms. You see, if you watch the video on What I've Learned, then you'll remember me explaining how there is a huge pro-butter and anti-seed oil contingency on social media. Although my video on seed oils was mostly concentrated on debunking the myth that seed oils are shrinking our brains and lowering our IQs, there are plenty of people who claim that eating butter and avoiding plant oils will make them live longer. There's already plenty of data that the saturated fat in butter raises blood cholesterol, and this is associated with an increased risk of dying from heart disease, and I covered this in my recent video on cholesterol and statin denialism, which I'll also link below. That video triggered a lot of people and I got tons of angry comments, and that's probably because in recent years, people have tied their opinions on butter and seed oils to their political identity, so they get really upset when science gets in the way of their political biases about food. But as Ben Shapiro once famously said, facts don't care about your feelings. And to further trigger these butthurt butter snowflakes, we now have even stronger evidence that butter and saturated fat are without question much worse for your health than seed oils are, and this new study that was just published in JAMA should absolutely destroy the myth that butter is good for our longevity once and for all. Here's the study. It's titled, quote, "Butter and Plant-Based Oils Intake and Mortality," unquote. The study looked at the dietary habits of 3 large groups of people prospectively evaluated over a course of 33 years. These groups were followed from 1990 to 2023. Every 4 years, the people in the study filled out detailed food questionnaires that included the amount of butter and plant-based oils used per day. The main endpoint of the study was the overall death rate, as well as the death rate specifically from cancer and cardiovascular disease. The study included 221,054 adults followed for over 33 years. The average age was around 56 years old. During the 33 years of follow-ups, there were 50,932 deaths, including 12,241 deaths from cancer and 11,240 deaths from cardiovascular disease. The main findings of the study are presented here in this table, but it contains a lot of information, so let me go ahead and just summarize what this table says. What the study found was that the people with the highest intake of butter had a 15% increase in mortality compared to people with the lowest intake of butter. At the same time, the people with the highest intake of plant oils had a 16% decrease in total mortality compared to people with the lowest intake of plant oils. Now, some people could claim that this might be because of olive oil, which even some butter fans think might be a healthy oil. However, even when excluding olive oil, there was still an 8% decrease in total mortality in people who use the highest amount of seed oils versus the lowest amount. The association between butter and mortality was related to the amount of butter added to food or bread. With each 5 grams per day increase in added butter, there was a 4% increase in total mortality. The association between plant oil intake and decreased mortality was seen with soybean oil, canola oil, and olive oil, but it wasn't seen with corn oil and safflower oil. However, there was a positive trend for reduced mortality with corn oil. With safflower oil, the negative results may have been related to fewer people using this type of oil. The editorial that accompanies this article also points this out. It says, quote, "While oil, soybean, and canola oils are associated with reduced mortality risk, this was not observed for corn and safflower oils. However, this association may not be robust due to the relatively low consumption of these oils compared with other plant oils in the study population," unquote. In any case, none of these seed oils increase mortality, and in fact, the oil that What I've Learned demonized the most in this video, canola oil, was very much associated with lower mortality along with soybean oil. Keep in mind that canola oil is the most commonly consumed seed oil in the entire world, and soybean oil isn't too far behind. The study then looked at specific causes of mortality. This figure shows the effects of substituting butter with plant-based oils. Total mortality and mortality from cancer are decreased by using plant oils instead of butter. There's also a trend towards decreasing cardiovascular mortality with plant-based oils. Based on the data in this study, replacing 10 grams per day of total butter intake by an equal amount of total plant-based oil would result in a 17% reduction in total mortality, a 17% reduction in cancer mortality, and a 6% reduction in cardiovascular mortality. You get similar results if you exclude olive oil from the analysis. So, the conclusion of the study is, quote, in this cohort study, higher intake of butter was associated with increased mortality, while higher plant-based oil intake was associated with lower mortality. Substituting butter with plant-based oils may confer substantial benefits for preventing premature deaths, unquote. The editorial accompanying the study points out in addition that the decrease in mortality with plant-based oils was seen even in people with poor diets, while the increase in mortality with butter was seen in the same group. So total mortality is what's called a hard endpoint for a study. It's not open to interpretation like cause of death can be. Eating more butter was found to be an independent cause of death, and eating more plant-based oils was found to be an independent cause of survival in this study. C.C. Brian Johnson. So you shouldn't be surprised that butter, which is very high in saturated fats, results in increased mortality, but you might be surprised that butter actually increases cancer mortality as well. As the study correctly points out, previous studies have found that high dairy intakes are associated with prostate, ovarian, and colorectal cancers. In addition to that, the high saturated fat content that's found in butter can trigger adipose tissue inflammation, which is linked to the development of cancer. The increased saturated fat content in butter can also alter hormonal activity, which can influence the development of hormonally sensitive cancer, like breast cancer and prostate cancer. So, the two biggest killers of the human organism are heart disease and cancer, and butter consumption contributes to both of them. So the bottom line here, chooms, is that seed oils absolutely mog the bleeding crap out of butter. Butter increases the chance you will die prematurely. It is not a health food in the slightest. It never has been, and it never will be. Now, I know of course that one study alone can't be definitive, but if you look at this new study combined with all the data I went over thoroughly in my cholesterol and seed oil videos, it just strengthens the overall scientific conclusion that butter blows and plant-based oils are good for you. So, the people who keep fear-mongering about seed oils and promoting vast consumption of butter are not doing so because of any kind of scientific conviction. No way. They're only doing so because that's what's considered cool on social media platforms like TikTok and YouTube, and they're trying to conform to popular opinion. They don't even really care about health. They're only interested in the aesthetics of the fad diet they're promoting, and showing images of themselves chomping down on cold sticks of butter will get a lot more views from impressionable idiots than breaking down scientific research. But fortunately for me, social media isn't my career, so I have the luxury of being able to tell the truth even if the truth isn't popular. Okay, so I was doing another research-based video recently before this data came up, but I thought this would be a good follow-up video to my seed oil and cholesterol videos, but I will be back with some more preem content soon. So until then, thank you so much for watching Hair Loss Witchers. I'll see you all next time. God bless.